Johnson, you got to feel pretty proud of the way your defense handled themselves yesterday.
Oh, I think that's a perfect word. Very proud of those guys and the way they fought. We've still got a lot of things, to clean up and made some mistakes. But I just felt their effort, attitude, the confidence level, and everything. Even when the dam broke a couple of times, the response, it was always one of confidence. And it rebounded off of big plays and bad plays. And I thought, finished the game, and they really did a good job. Real proud of that. We still make some mistakes that we've got to clean up, and of course that's coaching. We've got to take that responsibility and get it straight.
How else was Casanova able to return to practice?
He did. We didn't do any contact today. His neck's real sore, but he did everything everybody else did. But we were in t-shirts and no contact.
What was the diagnosis? Was it just a stinger? Or what
it was a stinger, but it was, to him, it was more severe. He said he'd had them before, and it just felt different. And I think once they got out there to him, they took a very precautionary track on it. But as we know right now, and I don't want to get too specific because I don't know all the technicalities, but it's pretty serious neck sprain or stinger, but nothing extremely, nothing that we would say is critical or anything that it can't play. Just a matter of time, when that thing sort of relaxes and the tension and the swelling and all the things that come with those things. Just how soon does it leave,
So you'd be optimistic about him playing this week, or would you look to hold him out?
I'm gonna wait and see. They thought of 48 hours. We don't practice tomorrow, so they thought a 48-hour period. They could really tell us a lot better. I'm always kind of be optimistic. If you can't have any contact this week, I always lean toward not letting them play, but they haven't told me that yet. So.
Anthony Swain looked like he stepped in and did a good job for you. Talk about that.
He really did, and he's one I'm really proud of because when Chris had the ejection 2 or 3 games ago, I had to move him to Mike linebacker that week as an emergency backup for Jake. And we got through that, but he spent the whole week at Mike and then never got to play. And then the following week, moved him back to Will, and he has played behind Casanova, and we take the Will linebacker out when we go to our dime package. So it ends up that the Will linebacker doesn't have as many repetitions, he's not as tired, so I don't rotate Cass as often. But he is, Anthony hadn't played a lot of plays, and not because he hadn't been ready to play, it's because we just haven't rotated him. And I just really thought he played outstanding for the number of reps he's had in the game and played in 2 different positions over the previous 2 or 3 weeks. I'm real proud of the way he handled it. And he even practiced a little bit at Mike this past week. Chris's shoulder was a little bit sore, so I told him to get some of Chris's reps one day. But he had a really good game. He was very productive. He only had a couple of missed assignments, and neither one of them were critical. And I thought he had a really outstanding game.
You gave him some different looks up front. What did you see when you watched them about how do you think those worked for you?
Well, we didn't do a whole lot different. We slid our front different directions based on what we felt like the play tendency was. We played our base 4-man front. In most cases, just tried to slide it to where we felt like the most likely point of attack was going to be. I thought our front players just played better fundamentally, and we played aggressively. They made a lot more plays just getting off of blocks and making tackles and so forth. The pass rush was obviously a heck of a lot better. And Rodney continues to rotate a lot of people. He's bringing those young guys along and doing a heck of a job, getting them ready. They're starting to feel comfortable in the system now, not just the physical elements, but they're starting to get comfortable with their assignments now. So they're getting more and more reps, and they made some good plays for us.
It looked like you stood your defensive ends up quite a bit. Was that by design? What was that?
We do that quite often with teams that run the read option off the line of scrimmage, and did it a lot versus our own offense over the spring, and look at it. If there's no tight end in place or tight end close to being at the point of attack, we stand them up sometimes so they can see better on where the back's level is, and if somebody coming in motion and that type of thing.
What did you see from Nosa this week, and what in practice the last couple thought he would make a good transition to tackle?
Rodney kind of made that transition about a week ago in practice, and want to just look at him in there. When he walks in the room, you feel like he looks like a defensive end, but he seems more natural in there. His technique and his fundamentals, and he played very solid. He's a little undersized with most of the linemen in this league, but he just, he plays with great leverage, and he played a good game.
What's called loss and what's kind of clicked with him?
Well, this latest week, he's one I would particularly mention. He really is starting to feel more comfortable with his assignments, and he's able to play and turn himself loose. He's always been physical and reckless, but when you do that and you're making a mistake or you're going the wrong way, it can obviously be a bad situation. But he's just getting more and more comfortable with what his job is and the assignment, his blitz gaps, his stunts, and all the different things he's got to do. Boy, he had some really good pass rush the other day, most of it one-on-one, but he had a great move on a twist, that something he would have been struggling with a couple of weeks ago. So, he's certainly a bright spot that we're getting that production, and hopefully we plan to get a lot more.
The long balls that Ryan White gave up, was he in the position that you'd like to see him in and just to make the play?
He did a good job, and obviously he got beat on the play, but what happened on that is the quarterback stepped up in the pocket, and it took about 4.5, 5 seconds to get that off. On that particular coverage, we didn't have anybody jamming the receiver. He was playing off, and he does have that receiver throughout the route. So it was a tough coverage. He kind of caught us in the wrong thing at the wrong time, and he had pretty good position on him, but boy, the ball was perfectly thrown where he couldn't make a play on it with his hand. The receiver really almost lost it because it was well out on his fingertips. So it was a good route, a great throw, and the quarterback moved around in the pocket just long enough to be able to get that ball off, and stepped up in a window, moved up and bought a little bit of time and threw it.
Robinson's pick, just talk about that play and then also his progression throughout this season, what you've seen from him.
The reason?
Yes.
It's been good. A couple of games like LSU was not really his style of game, but when he was out on those wideouts playing, I thought he did a good job. But in most of the other games, he's had a lot of responsibility out in space, which is what that hybrid's got to do, and has done a really good job. Had one pass interference. He actually slipped, and really he got illegally picked by the receiver, but they're not going to call that. But he got bumped, and it knocked him off balance, and he slipped a little bit, and he didn't have good position. And other than that one play, I just thought he played really well. He had a couple of times where he tried to throw the little sideways bubble screen, and could have forced it a little bit quicker. But he had an outstanding game. And one sideline on that is McEnroe got about 9 reps to sub him, and I bet those reps down the line are going to help him. That's the first time he's really had any true game experience. He did some good things, so that'll be something we hope in the future we can give him some rotation a little bit out there.
What did you see on that pick? It looked like he kind of jumped the play, or it was almost like he was surprised the ball was there.
Well, they were both up in press coverage, and the receivers, of course, rubbed it and made an intentional, bump on him or whatever. But most times those don't get called. They look like they tried like they're running a route. But he just got behind it and had to recover, and he never really got back in phase. What he should have done was just finally, just turn back, try to find the ball. But he was obviously behind him by that time.
Well, I meant to pick 6. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry on that one.
The way he looked like he was kind of surprised the ball was even there.
Yeah, because what it was, I think, it was a 3-step route, and what it looked like is the receiver, when the receiver broke inside, the ball was thrown, and one of our other players, I think he had to keep the ball outside a little bit more than he wanted to, and it went behind the receiver, and I think it did almost surprise him, and he bobbled it a little bit, but nobody else touched it. We thought somebody deflected it, but nobody else touched it.
That hybrid position has always been productive for your defenses, but given that in the spring he was working behind Garrett at that spot, and then he earned the job at the beginning of the season, did you ever foresee him being this productive and having these 3 picks and leading the team in tackles at this point?
I don't know if I would have thought he was going to lead the team in tackles, but I thought he could be a really good player at that position. We watched him at corner. He struggled with some of the things and turning your hips and doing things you got to do out there on that real good wide out and deep zone. But he had some explosiveness and some speed and physical strength. And I just thought it was a natural when we moved him. Justin was playing so well at that time, you wondered, well, how are we going to get both of them enough work? And the plan was to play them both in our nickel package, have one of them at nickel and one of them at the backside dime, where Josh Holsey's playing so well for us. But Justin wasn't healthy. And I think he would have been a productive player too had he stayed healthy. But, nothing Robinson has done has completely surprised me. Has some of the progress been a little faster than we expected? I think so. The production really has been what we thought, man.
Speaking of Justin, what's the latest with him at this point, and
hadn't, I don't know what the final decision, it's got a crack in it, and I think coach, they're gonna sit down and talk to parents or whatever, maybe, coach will make a decision, maybe by Tuesday.
Is that the right foot at this point? Or?
Yeah,
You know, I can't remember. I think it
that's
is.
the one that's got the.
Is he in a
It's
red-
not the foot he had hurt, it's
Okay,
the other.
this was the other.
Can he redshirt? I mean, is that available to him?
You could, yeah, he could, and I think that's something he's trying to think through right now, because he's gonna miss some games, obviously, but he's not gonna miss the season, but it's a thought he's got, got to work through that.
And
Time for a couple more?
There's a lot of freshmen on defense around this league making instant contributions, including on your team, obviously. What's the big challenge? I mean, they haven't gone against guys this big, this fast.
You know, I don't know, it kind of goes way back to the time I'm gonna get real nostalgic here. But I was 2 years before freshmen could play as, you know, I had to play freshman football when I was there. The next class did, but the class 2 years behind me was the first time they let freshmen play. And I remember everybody saying, this is crazy. These kids can't do this. They're not ready for this. They can't do it. They need that year. They need this. They need that. The only thing I think that has been true is they really do need that college environment for a year, for academics and all that. But physically, you know, kids are coming out of programs. They've got better strength programs. They're bigger, faster, and stronger naturally. They're probably coached as good or better than they ever were. And I just think a lot of them are ready to play at that level, and we're able to find a role for them to play. That's all I can say, you know. And same thing with these guys that go in the NFL, you know, they started coming out early, and even basketball, NBA, you know, guys coming out of high school, oh God, that guy can't play, and goes in the league in 2 years, 3 years, he's one of the best players. And it is what it is when they're at the prime, you know, age, 18, 19 years old. Physically, they're ready. It's just whether they're gonna learn it fast enough. Some of them don't have the competitiveness, some of them don't have the temperament, some of them don't have the fundamentals. But heck, you know, the physical talent, you can look at some of them in high school and tell, you know, these guys can play with us, you know.
That was
One
also,
more?
also the update on Jeff Whitaker and Montravius Adams.
Well, just an update.
On their physical staff. I mean,
Jeff's kind of trying to decide like, Justin, you know, does he want to try to come back a little pretty soon, or does he want to maybe take this year, you know? And, the other one, I really don't know. Montravius just got a bruise. I think he's day to day. You know, Casanova was able to go out there and run around, and Montravius wasn't, but, you know, one of them may be available Saturday and the other one not. We really won't know, I think, until a couple of days of rehab, and then see how many days of practice they can get.